Hey everyone, welcome to the video. Today we're going to talk about a coin that many people might not think much about, a simple 2009 penny. But what if I told you that this coin could actually be worth way more than just 1 cent? Some versions of this coin have sold for hundreds of dollars, and there are even claims that rare errors or varieties could be worth up to $5,000. That coin is the 2009 D penny with the design called Birth and Early Childhood in Kentucky. It's the first in a special series released by the United States Mint, and it tells the story of Abraham Lincoln's life through its design. In this video, I'll explain everything about this coin, its history, what makes it special, the types of errors to look for, and how to tell if you have one that could be worth big money. I'll keep everything simple so that everyone can understand, even if you're new to coin collecting. Let's start from the beginning. In 2009, the United States Mint decided to do something special to honor Abraham Lincoln. That year marked two important anniversaries. First, it was 200 years since Lincoln was born in 1809. Second, it was the 100-year anniversary of the Lincoln penny, which was first released in 1909. To celebrate, the Mint released 4 different penny designs that each show a part of Lincoln's life. These designs were placed on the back side of the penny, which is called the reverse. The front of the coin, which is called the obverse, still shows Lincoln's portrait, just like most modern pennies. The first design is the one we're focusing on today. It's called Birth and Early Childhood in Kentucky. This design shows a small log cabin, which represents the home where Abraham Lincoln was born and spent the early years of his life. Lincoln was born in a one-room log cabin in Hardin County, Kentucky, on February 12, 1809. The cabin image is meant to show Lincoln's humble beginnings and how he came from a very simple background. The reverse of this coin includes the words United States of America, 1 cent, and E pluribus unum, which means, out of many, one. The coin was minted in 2 different places. One is Philadelphia, which doesn't use a mint mark, and the other is Denver, which uses the letter D as a mint mark. The version we're talking about today is the Denver one, which you can recognize by the small D under the year 2009 on the front of the coin. This version is known as the 2009 D Birth and Early Childhood in Kentucky penny. Most of these coins were made for everyday use, which means they were not intended to be rare or special at the time. Millions of them were minted, and they were used by people in daily life. Because of this, most of these pennies are still only worth 1 cent if they've been circulated, meaning they were used and have some wear and tear. However, if the coin has never been used and is still in perfect condition, what collectors call uncirculated, then it might be worth a little more, maybe 50 cents to $1 or more, depending on how perfect it is. But there's a twist. In addition to the normal coins, the US Mint also made a special version with a satin finish. This satin finish version wasn't put into circulation. Instead, it was included in special collector's sets that people could buy directly from the Mint. These satin finish coins have a softer look, kind of like a matte finish, and they're made from a different metal mix than the normal coins. While regular 2009 pennies are made mostly of zinc with a thin copper coating, the satin finish versions were made from 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, which is the same formula used for older pennies made before 1982. Because of the different metal, the satin finish penny also weighs more. A regular penny from 2009 weighs about 2.5 grams, while the copper satin version weighs about 3.1 grams. If you have a small digital scale and you weigh your coin and it comes in around 3.1 grams, that could be a big clue that you have the special version. The US Mint only made about 784,614 satin finish coins for this specific design, which is a lot less than the regular versions. Because of that, the satin ones are worth more to collectors. If yours is in great condition and it's certified by a professional grading company, it could sell for $10, $20, or even more. Now, let's talk about errors and rare varieties, because that's where things can get really interesting. Sometimes, coins are made with small mistakes, and collectors call these error coins. These can happen when the coin is being stamped, when the metal is being prepared, or when the design is applied. One type of error that has been reported on the 2009 D-log cabin penny is called a double die. This means that when the die hit the coin, it did so slightly off, or the design shifted during the process, causing a kind of double image. You might notice this on the letters, numbers, or details in the log cabin. It looks like there's a shadow or a second layer behind the main image. Some of these double die errors are very hard to see without a magnifying glass, while others are much more obvious. Collectors get excited about these because they are unusual and not many exist. If you find a 2009 D penny with a strong double die on the reverse, it could be worth $100 or more depending on how clear the error is and how good the condition of the coin is. There is a specific variety called WDDR-033 that's known for this kind of error. The more dramatic the doubling, the higher the value tends to be. Another thing that collectors look for is the weight of the coin. As I mentioned earlier, a regular 2009 penny weighs about 2.5 grams. But if your coin weighs closer to 3.1 grams, that means it might be made from the copper alloy instead of the zinc one. Sometimes, these heavier copper coins show up in places they weren't supposed to. For example, there are stories of people finding them in rolls of regular pennies. That's unusual because the copper satin versions were supposed to stay in collector sets. If one escaped into regular circulation by accident, it might be a rare find. There was a story that made headlines where someone claimed to have found one of these heavier copper 2009 D pennies and said it might be worth around $82. That's already a big jump from 1 cent. But as more collectors hear about these types of finds, some start to believe that the rarest versions, especially in perfect condition or with additional errors, could be worth as much as $5,000. While there aren't many examples of these high-dollar sales actually happening, the idea is that if the right combination of rarity, condition, and error comes together, the value could go very high. It's important to remember that for a coin to be worth big money, it usually needs to meet several conditions. First, it has to be rare either because very few were made, or because a certain error is uncommon. Second, it needs to be in excellent condition, meaning no scratches, dents, or signs of wear. Third, it helps if the coin is certified by a professional coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. Certification proves that the coin is genuine and gives it an official grade, which makes buyers more comfortable paying higher prices. If you have a 2009 D-log cabin penny and you think it might be special, there are a few easy things you can do to check. First, weigh the coin on a small digital scale. If it weighs around 2.5 grams, it's probably the regular version. If it weighs closer to 3.1 grams, it might be the copper version. Next, look closely at both sides of the coin with a magnifying glass or loupe. Look at the letters, numbers, and parts of the design to see if anything looks doubled, misaligned, or strange. Also, check the surface of the coin. If it looks more matte or satin-like instead of shiny, that could be a clue it's a special finish. If you're not sure what you're seeing, you can compare your coin to pictures online of known rare examples. There are websites, videos, and coin forums where collectors share photos and information. You can even post a picture of your coin and ask others what they think. If it looks promising, you might want to send it to a grading service. It costs money to grade a coin, so it's usually only worth doing if you really believe your coin is valuable. So to answer the big question, can a 2009 D-log cabin penny really be worth $5,000? The answer is yes, but only in very rare cases. It would need to be in perfect condition, probably have a rare error like a strong double die, or be made from the copper planchet when it wasn't supposed to be. And most importantly, it would need to be certified to prove that it's the real thing. For most people, their 2009 D penny is worth 1 cent, or maybe a little more if it's uncirculated. But that doesn't mean it's not worth checking your change or your old coin jar. You never know what hidden treasure you might find. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this information helped you understand more about the 2009 D birth and early childhood in Kentucky penny. If you enjoyed this and want to learn about other valuable coins, rare errors, or how to spot treasures in your pocket change, don't forget to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. If you think you have a rare penny, share your story in the comments. Who knows? You might be the next person to find a hidden gem worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Until next time, happy coin hunting and good luck.